All right, it's time for GLUG again, the GNU Linux user group at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. A big update that we have is that we've consolidated the two Slack groups. We used to have two groups. We had GLUG members and we had GLUG admin, and we consolidated into one Slack group now. And there is the link, so if you want to be in it, you can sign up there. And if you have an Illinois.edu address, you don't have to ask for any permissions or anything. If you do not, then you'll have to send a request to one of us and we can add you to the team. And the reason for consolidation was people weren't cross-posting from one group into the other, and eventually everybody just stopped talking in GLUG members for a long time, and there's somewhat some chat inside the other one, so I feel like it kind of like divided the group in half, I think. So kind of merge them together, and now we can all, which the chat's already picked up in there, say already too. But we'll see how that goes. And that is, I say, that is our official communication right now is Slack. So for any working on notes, etc. projects, we all communicate in there. I set up some GitHub integrations. So if you guys want to have one-off meetings in the channel, you can type, I think, /hangouts, and it'll just spawn up a Hangouts for you. You can just click on it in the channel. I set up GitHub integrations too, so anytime there's a new commit, it goes to the appropriate channel. As you guys can see,
Hey John, what's the root password in these containers?
like right here's the GitHub stuff. It is OpenNSM.
And how do you set the host name in the Docker build? Because like whenever I run the container, I just get some.
Yeah, you don't. It's not. You don't do it in the file. It's an option. The -H option from Docker itself.
So you're not worried about it in the Docker file?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't go there. I think I handle it myself inside container.sm. It gets the name and automatically replaces the name with that. So it should always have, it should say Silk, for example, if your directory is Silk, I'm pretty sure. So it handles
Right
it.
now my host name is E2520E82827.
Did you run it as with container.sm?
No, not yet.
Okay, yeah. So I'm pretty sure if you run it with container.sm, your host name will be Silk. It matches whatever is in the directory. So you have a Silk directory to put that as your host name. So moving along, meeting sections, we have a link. Docker 1.10 was released, and this is a pretty big update. They've had some stuff that I've been wanting to play with for a while that hasn't been available. Let me zoom in here. One thing is they have setcomp policies now that you can use. So if you're not familiar with setcomp, it is a way to filter system calls, like you can filter packets for the Berkeley packet filter language in the kernel. It's just using a similar like language to filter system calls. You can take a look here, see if we can look at setcomp. Like certain projects use, like SSH use, I think Google Chrome has their own sandbox with setcomp filters. And you have the right, usually, I think the interface is with C, and let's see here. Yeah, so you got setcomp BPF, because again, they try to make it like I think like a language just like Berkeley packet filter, and you can allow the calls here. And then when you compile it with your program, someone cannot execute. If you say, hey, you're not allowed to execute like KLD load or something like that, you cannot do that. It kind of filters it, so which is kind of cool. Something that would be a cool programming example too if anybody wants to play with it. Also, what they added was of the important things was the user namespaces. So we've been waiting for these in the kernel or at least support for them for a long time. It allows you to run a container not as root, but as the actual normal user with a mapping inside the container. So you have you can do a mapping between like user 655 blah 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 in the host to that user or a different user in the container, or an unprivileged user in the container, or I'm sorry, on the host with root in the container. So it allows you don't actually have to do a root mapping, so it actually increases security. It does a further isolation of the user IDs, so it's less privileged, and that's a pretty big one. So definitely, I want to check that out and play with that one. So, but again, yeah, for isolating system users, and they also have a new authorization plugin system that you can use to limit like API calls in the Docker engine. All stuff that I need to look at for islets, so I can try to incorporate it in there. we don't have anything for education learning tools this week. Moving along to file system permissions. Leroy wanted to have a demonstration on some basic file system permissions. And I think Lucian was going to head that off. And do you want your own box, or do you want?
I don't care.
Okay, I'll just back out here. Let's just go to here. Let's put you in a container, actually. Docker run. We'll just do. I will do Debian, Bash. So now Lucian's in a. Oh wait, I don't have Docker running, do I? Whoops. Boot Docker. Start. So that's probably really annoying. But now it's so nice just to have containers to do demos with.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to wait 30 seconds to spin up a VM. I do have to wait for the first time to spin up my first VM, which is running Docker, though. But then once that's running, I can just, on the fly, just spin up. Oh, you want to demo something in CentOS? Okay, just launch the CentOS container. You want to do something in
That's
Debian? Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah.
All right, so. Oh, we don't have a Debian, do I? Just a second. There we go. Okay, now you're in a Debian containers root, so you can do your thing.
Wait,
Sorry.
how is that so fast?
That or the container?
Debian thing.
Oh yeah. Watch. Boom.
I mean, how did it get it so fast? What did it grab?
It did an API call to Docker engine inside the virtual machine,
Uh-huh.
and then you're really just inside the virtual machine. The container's
Oh.
running, and it just connects you with the SSH, I think.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So some basics on Linux and Unix like file system permissions. So permissions are a huge part of sort of the Linux system and Unix systems because they allow you to set security properties of every file on the system. So I'll just go ahead and give you a demonstration of why this might be useful. So let's say you're running a system with multiple users, like a ton of users. Maybe you're running a school or something. And you want to give the students access to some files, but you don't want them to be able to modify the files because that would mess everything up. So there's a ton of ways you can configure permissions to do exactly what you want. And it starts with basic read, write, and execute permissions. So let's say you have a file here. So we have a file named file, and if you pass the -l option to ls, it'll show you extended information about the files in the directory. So if you've ever wondered what this first column is for, these are your standard permissions. The way this goes is there's a dash here, which I'll talk about in a minute, but that's basically extra flags for non-standard files. And then there's 3 here for R, W, and X. The X is grayed out, but the R and W are for read and write. So those 2 are enabled. And then there's another group of 3 here, and a third group of 3 here. And they all could have R, W, and X printed in them, but you'll notice that some of them are dashed out. And why is that? So the groups are actually divided between owner, file owner, group, and what's the third one?
Everybody else on that.
Yeah, everyone else. Okay, other, right? So, so for this file, our owner, whoever owns that file, which in this case is root, because I'm root, I have access to read and write to that file. Other people in the group, which is also root, who are not root, can only read that file. Although this actually doesn't apply here. This is a special case because anyone who's root can do whatever they want, I believe. So, but let's say, yeah.
So you say, is anyone else outside the group, or does that include?
Let me just add a user real quick, and I think it'll make it clearer. Okay, so now I've just created a user called user. Run who am I, and I am user. So now we have this file here that's owned by root, right? And if you look here, we classify under the other group, because if you look in if you grep for user in etc password, you can see we are not in any groups, I believe. So, and anyway, we're UID 1000. So root is UID 0. So you can see there, and then if we were to do sudo id-u, or if we exit out here, that's ID 0. So anyway, we're obviously not root.
Can you do sudo instead of login?
Yeah, I think that would also work. So, oops. So I just want to show you guys that. So since we're not in the group, or we're not the user that owns the file, we can't actually write to this file. So if we were going to say maybe echo foo to file, permission denied, because we're not in the permissions to be able to write to this file. And if we were to read this file, well, of course there's nothing in it, but you'd see that there's no problem here. It reads the file just fine. So let's talk about changing permissions. So let's say you have this file, right? We didn't ask for it to be created this way. It just sort of was that way by default, right? So that actually is controlled by something called a UMask, and that's set on a per shell basis, I believe. And basically that controls like what the default file permissions will be when you create new files. So
Repeat that one more time.
UMask, like that. So if we run that, we see 0022, and the reason it's a 0022 is because it's actually a bit mask that is applied over file permissions to get or it's applied over 777, which is full file permissions, to get the permissions of your resulting file, which is kind of confusing, but once you do it a few times, you get the hang of it. So let's say we want to change the permissions of this file. So if we go back to our ls here, we have read write on owner, read on group, and read for other. So let's say we want everyone to be able to write to that file as well. So right now, as a normal user, I'm not the owner of this file, so I can't actually change what the permissions are. If I try to do a chmod, let's say +x file, we can't do that because we're not the owner. So let's go back to root here. What's up?
Can you go to the history so I can see how you added users so I can add new users?
Oh, sure. Well, I'll just type it out for you. So I did history, grep user, it was this one. So user add -m. -m creates a home directory, and -d specifies where the home directory will be created. You good?
Yes.
So then when they log in, what do they have access to?
Default, I think it's /. It's just a root file system.
And you know, like,
No, they can look around. Unless the system, any file or directory that has the
After
other
the user
bit
joins
with the
us.
right bit, they can write to. But typically,
You could log in. Are you trying to log in, or you could try an SU?
So here's what I would do. So you
I
want to
agree.
verify this one.
When did you create you as
Oh,
You could actually do
Yeah.
so it's to the ID and then the name of the user.
password and then the user. Does anyone know actually? Can you create a passwordless user?
Can you do what?
I believe so, but I'm not sure.
Because like the login program asks for a password whether there's one set or not.
I'm kind of because actually when you do
Well,
the ad, when you do the ad
Oh, that's
user and
fine.
stuff, does it even prompt you for a password?
What was the question?
Here's the thing. So if you do a user add -m-d home u2, right? So we just added a user u2. If we try to log in u2, there's no password set, but it asks for a password. And if you try to hit nothing, it doesn't let you log in. So you can't log in unless you have a password. So how do you? Let's say you wanted a
go
password.
Open up the Etsy password file.
Oops.
Just do by pass WD is the appropriate way to do it.
Oh, is there a?
Yeah. Oh, you don't have it installed. Wait, go back. It's fine.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty bare.
All right, fair
I
enough.
don't know what I don't know what's. You can install it in the room quick. I apologize.
I know it.
Oh, is
If
it
you change, take the X out.
that X there?
Well, first, do get ent shadow, and then space YouTube.
Okay. Oh, so that.
That dollar sign, exclamation point says they cannot log in.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So is that equivalent to the X in Etsy password?
The X in Etsy password means that it should look. It can be any character. It doesn't have to be X. It can be A through Z or whatever. If there's a character in that field, that means that the system should then look for the Etsy shadow file.
Sweet.
If you remove the X from the Etsy password file, I think that grants access to the system. You don't have to you have a password to log in. You can test that real quick.
I just did. Yeah, that works. So I removed the X and it let me log in.
Nice. Yep. So it can be
Sweet.
any character in that field. That means it's going to check the shadow file.
So
I learned
is
that
it-
from that Linux API book, by the way. I didn't actually know that before.
That's sweet.
So is it basically like
What's
the no login flag is sort of set automatically because the password hasn't been set?
1 second. I have
Sorry.
That makes sense though, right? Because like you don't want in that short amount of time before you set the password, you don't want someone to log in, right?
Because it's like, okay, when you do the add user and stuff, it does check the password, which means that the account is there with no password set.
Yeah.
So I mean, like theoretically, yeah, but okay, but that actually makes sense.
Well, you could see how it would be, right? Like, so let's say a sysadmin was adding new users. Let's say we're adding students at a school, and we're preloading each home directory with the students' grades for last semester. And let's say we added all the users before adding their default password. So we added user Lucian, and they put my shitty grades in the home file, in the home directory. But, you know, anyone could just log in as Lucian without a password and see my grades if that wasn't the case. So, until they added the password. Does that make sense? What's up?
I got a question. What is the shadow file do? Like, what exactly?
I know it.
So-
I know it's for password hash.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's just for password hash. I don't know what the historical reason is, because I think everything used to be in Etsy password. I think the password hashes used to be in there as well, but if we do a cat Etsy shadow, you can see the password hashes are in here.
What's
I'm
all the other
curious.
stuff?
Could you look at the default? I would be curious whether the default had permissions on Etsy Shadow and Etsy Password were different.
Oh, just the permissions on it?
Yeah, I'd just be curious. I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't.
So, okay, so shadow is 6. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So anyone who is not root cannot even read Etsy shadow.
Yeah, because it's.
That
it's
makes
like,
sense.
So it's like somebody who's not root can't, because it's like the Etsy Shadow would be their password hashes, and so you can't.
Okay,
So if somebody wanted to grab the hashes and start doing a brute force.
got it. So
Thing, yeah,
that makes sense for them to separate it then. So
yeah.
that means that any,
Why does it make sense?
because, so, okay, so the way it's set up right now, here, right, you see, okay, so Etsy password, I'm using the stat command, by the way, which is a nice way to show permissions, because it shows not only the ls-l sort of representation, but it also shows octal. So I'll talk about octal in a minute. But so on Etsy password, we have read permission for all users on the system. Everyone can read. Owner can read, group can read, and other can read as well. So that means I can be Joe Schmo and I can read the Etsy password file. So that's nice because then I can query like how many users are on the system, what users exist. But I have to be a root user to be able to read the Etsy shadow file, which contains password hashes, which are, could be sensitive. So that's nice.
What was that say?
Huh?
That say did?
Oh, so that was just a substitution I just replaced U2:X with U2:, just to get rid of the X because no editors were available.
Where is it?
Oh, so if you remove the X there, then it makes it
I
so
gotta
that
leave
you can
at,
launch the user,
I believe around 9:10.
if you just
I'm not sure what the best way to handle.
Is that minute right?
Here's 1 minute, right?
39.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't trust you use SUD because I never really learned how to use that. I like.
We should have a SED talk. SED is cool, and
It probably is.
I want to learn more about it because I've seen some amazing stuff done with SED.
Yeah.
I think that one time we sort of had nothing to do, I showed you guys that SED Tetris thing,
Yeah.
which just shows there's like crazy things you can do with it.
That's cool. I'm just like, that's cool. You know how to use it because I don't.
Okay, so let's talk about changing the file permissions. So we have this file. I'm just going to give it some contents to make it more interesting. So the way file system permissions are usually referred to is actually not by this long string here, because I guess it's a little cumbersome. And also it's not really the way it's stored on the system. This is sort of just like a visual representation that makes it clear what the permissions actually are. So the way the system actually likes to refer to file system permissions is by an octal representation. And octal, if you're not familiar, is a number base that goes from 0 through 7 inclusive. And basically the reason they choose that is because you see how we have our 3 groups of 3 here? Well, if you write 111 in binary, you can see how these are kind of just binary flags, right? They're either on or off. There's not really any other values they can be on each position. So like the first one of each 3 can only be an R or a dash. The second one can only be a W or a dash, and the third one can only be an X or a dash. And I don't think I mentioned X before, but X is for execute, which allows you to run programs. So that's basically like a binary representation, right? So if you take 3 of these, you go 111, well that's 7 in binary. So you just basically need a number base that can go from 0 through 7. Well, hey, octal's perfect. So what they do is they just represent this as an octal triplet. So we could represent the file system permissions that are already on this file as 644. And the way we get that is we take a look at the first group here. And this is basically a binary 110. And if you convert that to decimal, that's 4 plus 2, which is 6. Look at the second one, 4. And the third one, 4. So 644 would be the same thing. And if we look at, if we run a stat, I like stat because it shows, like I said, it shows the octal. If we look at stat file, hey look, 0644, and it matches up. I'll talk about that first digit in a minute, but it's actually optional in most cases, so we can afford to gloss over it for a few minutes. So let's say we want to change this file to allow everyone to be able to write to it. So remember when I was the user called user, I couldn't write to the file. So let's change that. So we use a utility called chmod, and if we take a look at the man page here, oh, we don't have man. Let's take a look at the help. you can see the usage is chmod. We can give it an option, but we pass it a mode and then a file to work on. So chmod is nice in that it actually allows some sort of visual representation of what the file system permissions are instead of having to use octal, but you should get in the habit of using octal just because it's more precise, I think. So anyway, so let's change this file. So let's say we want everyone to be able to write. So that's going to be 666 because 6 stands for read and write permissions, and we repeat that 3 times to make it for the whole system for every user. And since we're root, that goes through just fine. Let's try SU because someone mentioned it earlier. So if we do SU user, cool. That's probably even better than login because it doesn't spawn a login shell.
I think, I think that said thing is not letting me log in.
Did you change it to be specific to whatever user you created?
Yes, I did.
I mean, if I were you, I'd just edit it with an editor, so then you can see what you're working with. So all I was doing was removing that X bit, right, or that X character.
Yeah.
Actually, so does SU? Can you say a command? Actually, I should just change because that's gonna get annoying.
Your user doesn't show
Oh, that would be fine.
which would probably not let you. Lucian,
Yeah.
if you don't specify a shell for a user, you can't log in, right? Or
If
does
you
it-
don't if you don't specify a shell explicitly, it implies bin sh.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah. Let's since we have this experimental U2 thing, let's try that. Okay, so I just changed our default shell to bash.
What does that mean?
Shell?
Oh, oh.
Sorry, what's up? Password.
No, it was from that.
This? I was replacing. So see here how it says bin bash. That was the same as this before, but bin sh is a really limited shell that's really only intended for running scripts. So
What does that say?
that says go to the line that starts with user, so this line. So we're not going to affect any other lines in the file, and then replace sh at the end with bash. So basically just apply the substitution. Oh yeah, so we're going to test that, right, about the shell thing. Oops.
What does the bracket stand for?
The bracket is apply or run a command on the lines that match from a previous command. So the previous command was this slash here, which means match a line, and then it says, okay, once we match that line, we're going to run a substitution on it.
Is that a said thing?
It is a said thing.
So that's related to regular expressions, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think that part's standardized
Okay.
because that's sort of a said specific thing, being able to run commands on top of each other like that.
Why don't you just find the U2 itself and replace it?
What do you mean?
So,
Well, I don't have an editor installed, so I'm kind of making do here.
no, I'm saying, S slash, I don't know what you call the arrow up U2, since that means U2 is first. Yeah, so run a sed using that, slash that, with the S in front.
Oh, because, so if I did that, I'd have to replace, right? So it's going to match this, and it's going to say, okay, what do you, so it's going to find the right line, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to say, okay, U2, what do you want to replace U2 with? So that's not what we want to do, right? We don't want to replace U2. We want to replace something later on that same line.
Oh, so okay, keep going. So what's the other one that you have?
This one?
Yeah.
So this one says, okay, we're not going to do a substitution just yet. First, we want to locate that line. So we're going to locate the line using a slash command. And then the way slash works is you say slash, then your pattern to match, and then another slash, and then a command to execute on it. So this works out really nice. Like, let's say, since we're on a slight aside here, let me just do a demo here. So we have a file called F here, and it has 3 lines, 1, 2, and 3. And so let's say we want to say, we're going to use the find command, and we're going to say 2, and we're going to go into file F, right? So what that does is it's going to say, hey, missing a command, because I found this line, and I don't know what you want me to do with it. So let's say we want to remove that file, so we just put a D for delete. So now it just returns 1 and 3. So what we're doing with this command is I put the bracket because I think if you don't, it gets confused with the extra slashes or something. Really, the brackets are intended to run multiple commands, like chaining them. But anyway, so and then we're gonna run the S command, the substitute on the matching line. Does that make sense?
Oh, so you basically say find bin and replace it with sh.
These are just escapes for the slash because I use the slashes.
So find slash bin and then replace that with slash sh.
No, so that it's find here. This will make it clearer. You can use any delimiter you want. So this is the same thing. Does that make more sense? So find bin sh and replace it with nothing. If I wanted to replace it with something, I'd put it here. But we just leave that empty because we're gonna try to see what happens.
Why you put the dollar sign bin sh?
Just to confirm that it's at the end of the line. That's the end of line symbol. So. Okay, so it still logged me in. I guess. Wait, that's kind of interesting actually. So we didn't give it any shell at all, and it actually gave me bash, which is more capable than binsh. So I suppose it depends on the login implementation, I would guess. Oh, we don't have man. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So that's what happens, I guess, on this system. We deleted the shell from Etsy or we deleted what shell we wanted to use from Etsy password, and then we did a login, and it gave me bash. I would have expected either an error or binsh, but
So, I think there's a way to tell this. Go to your cat Etsy shells. Well, you're Debian isn't SSH symlink bash or dash or one of the two?
sh is symlink to dash.
Okay, you're not dash, you're straight up bash.
Yep.
Strange. There's got to be a file that says which one to go to then. Maybe is it access.com for login?
I think the help is there. Did that count as error? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if they have the. I was trying to find the format specifier for the. Sorry, for the permission octal. Oh, access rights. They call it access rights. Okay, so I use this in a script just because it's a nice way to get the octal without really putting in any effort. So if we did a stat-c %a file, that gives us our permission value. So let's test that, by the way. So let's log in as user. And, oops. So now, hey look, we have write permission. So now if we want to say hello from user, and we will t-a, or actually we will just append to file, no error, and hey, it worked. So there you go, simple permissions. Let me talk real quick about execute. So I believe this is actually
Real
yeah.
quick, sorry. Do man 5.
I don't have man.
Install man apt-get -get install. Is it man doc? Man dash doc.
Okay, should I just
Yeah, you can search by mine over here. Man dash doc.
is it here?
Just do man.
All right. Huh.
Balls. What the fuck would it be?
Oh wow.
What kind of core you?
No, it wouldn't be part of core utils.
Man pages? Just try that. Man pages. That doesn't sound.
That wouldn't have that would have matched that pattern though. I think the repo or something, or maybe
Yeah, this is pretty cut down. No, we're using this for.
maybe it hasn't grabbed this stuff yet. The catalog or whatever. Hey, okay.
Okay.
I like the apt whatever 1 point something added like that nice little progress bar at the bottom.
I've never seen that before. How'd you do that?
So you probably use apt-get, right?
Yeah.
I'm just using apt, which
Okay,
is
fine.
simpler. There's only like a few commands, I guess. Or I guess, I don't know. I like the interface better than apt-get, so it looks cool. Anyway, what were we doing? Man what?
5 password. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, it's got the doesn't have man util. Man util, try that.
Like that. Oop. So installed the okay. It installed user share man, but not okay.
Actual program.
Yeah. Well, you get to see the progress bar again. Oh.
Now, Jesus Christ, what is it? Dude, I'm sorry, this container's cut down.
ManDB?
That's it. Yeah,
Is
that's
it?
Damn it. I had to do this one for some images too for Docker, and I'm just like, I forget what it is. Because who thinks of ManDB? Like,
Yeah.
it does not come to mind.
Yo, progress bar.
That's pretty cool.
Damn it. Dude, something's funky with your keyboard. I have to press everything twice.
Okay. It's
All right.
probably a container.
Yeah.
Alright, /shell.
Hold on.
Just get less.
Hold on. Yeah.
Or just grep the man page itself. More is less.
What's pager?
Pager's just the default program for stuff like that.
Yeah, it's called Pagination.
Okay. Ta-da. Uses the...
If this field is empty, it defaults to the value bin sh.
Well, that didn't happen.
So there's got to be another program in here that's or something that's or maybe it's Pam. Maybe Pam has something that modifies it. I don't want to get too off track. But I was trying to track that down and figure out what that was. I suspect it's like a Pam environments thing.
Yeah. Weird. That'd be cool to figure out, like, what actually causes that. We could do an S-trace, but later.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me just talk about execute real quick, because that's really all I'm really qualified to talk about.
I gotta leave in about 10 minutes, just FYI.
Okay. So I think this is a kernel feature, but it might have something else to do with file systems as well. But so when you have like a text file that's marked as executable, it will read the first line as an interpreter. And the way you do that is with something called a shebang. And you're probably familiar with this if you look at shell scripts or Python scripts or anything like that. So let me get a real editor here real quick. What's going to be quick? Let's see how quick that goes. Oh, that's a lot. All right, great. So let's say we have a file here, and we want to run it with the bash shell. So we just want a bash script that says hello world. And we could just leave it like this, right? But that doesn't really tell the system like how to execute it. So the way we should do this is we should say,
What do you mean how to execute?
so we have a text file here, right? Like all this is a text file. And if we were to say chmod plus x file, giving it the x flag here, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't really say like, we can run it, it's gonna work, but it doesn't really say like, hey, do you want to use bash? Do you want to use Python? Like, it's just guessing that you want to use bash because you're already in bash.
Oh, so you don't put like
So we're gonna do this. We do a that's called a shebang symbol. So it's just pound sign and an exclamation point, and then you specify the path to your interpreter. So you could do bin bash, you could do bin sh, bin dash. It's all going to be the same in this case. But so now if you run file, it'll do the same thing. But well, here let's demonstrate it, right? So let's do echo shell. That returns bash. Change that to bin sh, and there you go. It's undefined because dash actually doesn't, or dash doesn't define that value in scripts, I believe.
What'd you set it to?
I set it to sh. So even though it still works,
Cat, just go ahead and cat.
oops.
Okay.
So, and that should be the same exact behavior if we do that, I think, unless it has symlink detection. Yeah, so. But anyway, that's like a sort of a system-wide feature that applies to executable text files.
Is there other things you can do with the shebang thing?
Yeah, so you can actually, anything that accepts like program input or anything on standard in, you can use it with, which is really cool. And I need to play around with this more because there's probably something really neat you could do with it. But for example, let's say we wanted to say bin cat, right? And let's say okay, so in this case it's kind of useless, right? Because you could just write a text file. But let's say you want to just print out the contents of the file. So we have our file here. And if we run it, it'll actually run bin cat on the file, which of course includes that first line. So it cats itself, which is kind of cool. But you could run this on anything.
Can you run arguments with it? Options?
Yeah.
because people like with awk scripts, it'll say, you know, shebang bin awk-f, which is the argument you pass in an awk script as a file thing.
Couldn't you do that? I think that's what he's asking, right?
Is that what
Are you
mean?
saying could you pass arguments to the interpreter?
Oh, can you be like dash O, dash B, dash?
Yeah, so, yeah, you can. So, you put some, cat has a few command line options. Put, I don't know, dash, yeah, that'll work. Dash B is a good one.
Oh, actually, that won't. Sure. Let's do ET. ET is extra characters and tabs, I believe. We just need E because it'll show end of line. I'm not sure if dash V implies a few others. I think it's dash.
It does special, like, some of the special characters, or print some as is, I think.
Oh, okay. So this man page is different than the one I'm used to, but anyway. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was thinking of T. T is equivalent to dash V capital T. Sorry, I got that mixed up. But anyway. Now we see the dollar signs for end of line. And if we wanted that to be something more flexible, I'm curious if this would work.
Oh, that's neat.
Oh yeah, so just
No.
pass a file, another file. Try to do that. So go back and then execute that again. And just add
Well-
another file name.
Okay. Should I keep this?
Yeah,
Because this
just-
didn't work.
It
It's a,
it tried to echo that as a file, or try to open that up as a file, right?
oh, maybe it did.
So just pick a
No, see it.
no such file directory, right? And try to cat,
Yeah, it tried to cat dollar sign asterisk.
which isn't a file.
Right. So it's not going to change no matter what we pass. See. Although it
Right.
did work twice.
Yeah, it did work. Yeah, it did. So
So how is that working?
no such file or direct. That's a good question. So
It's like it's saying cat that, right? But then it's also kind of working. So how
yeah, where's the error message coming from?
cat?
Yeah, but like, how?
Well, because bash is saying exec l or something, bin cat.
Oh wait, I wonder.
Yeah. So it passes in the file, and then it passes in the arguments to the.
Like that or something.
I don't think null comes after. I think it's file after, because those are the arguments to the interpreter, right?
Oh yeah. Sorry. So
So if you just remove the $sign asterisk, it should work as expected.
well, right, but why would it do that? Why would it?
Because cat is the interpreter. When you run a Python file, right?
Yeah.
Python there, it runs Python, the name of the file that you're / executing, and then it passes in those options to Python.
I understand what you're saying, but if you have a shell script, it doesn't work that way. Shell scripts have their own parameters and they can interpret it how they want.
They have their own parameters, but shell takes in those parameters and passes it to the script. I'm pretty sure.
Here's what I mean. So if you have
That would actually be worth looking into.
Um,
Is it I should know that.
so what's an sh option? Dash e, right? Or dash x or something.
X is a good one.
So so F2, and we can say hello, and that's going to say hello. But you're saying if we do dash x, that should be passed to the shell.
I'm saying it's going to be passed as an argument to the shell, but since it knows that it's executing a file at that point,
Mm-hmm.
it probably won't interpret that as its own argument.
That's the thing, though. It doesn't do that. So I don't know.
Yeah. So it. How do I explain?
Oh, you're saying
If
okay.
If you just run.
Hmm.
If you run /bin /sh /f2 -x, what happens? Right.
Yeah.
So that's that that line that you typed there is actually what's getting passed into exec. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
So like all of the argument handling
transitive.
goes through the interpreter, no matter what.
I gotcha.
Basically, all
Yeah.
the / does is like puts in the interpreter name as like the first argument or the thing you're executing.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, so whenever we had the $sign asterisk, that was passed literally.
Literally to cat.
Yeah. Okay, that's why it errored.
But we still don't know why it worked twice, do
We
we?
still got the.
Oh no, because we,
Because the file arguments are
Yeah,
just, like
so-
put in after.
basically that whole thing was just unneeded. It would have worked by default. So we could do this.
Because what
And it
you're
still
saying
works.
there is really just cat file.
Right. Okay.
Well, it's. Geez, this is really messed up. Okay, it's saying bin cat /file. Oops, like that, right?
Yep.
And obviously that returns the same thing. Cool, that's neat. It's like intuitive but confusing at the same time a little bit.
Yeah.
'Cause of the
I've
arguments.
seen some scripts do interesting things with not actually putting interpreters as the first line.
Oh, really?
I can't remember what it was. I'm trying to think like what
Was it just using a here doc or something?
Maybe I thought it was using something like sed or like some kind of common Unix command, but passing its own file as like the first argument.
Interesting.
So
Oh, so maybe like, huh?
I'd be interested to see how, like, I think this, like, how this is done. Like,
can you tell sed to take a command as its or like a file as its first argument? Or not
Yeah.
as its first argument, but like as an argument,
Yeah, sed takes a file as an argument.
like for commands.
Yeah, like to a file to work on.
No, like you can put the sed commands in a file and run that file as like a script.
Yeah, because it accepts standard in, right? So if you did touch file, sed file.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. I may have just gotten ahead of myself. Oh, I think there's an option you passed.
Dash E there? Or no, that's
You need-
F. Okay, I think.
Maybe it is. No, F is
So the
script
script, yeah.
script
So I
file.
think-
So we want sed-e, right?
I think E does.
E does a command or something.
Script, right?
F is a script file.
So try putting like what is it? Bin sed slash or dash E as the interpreter in the script, and then like writing a sed script after it. I want to see if that like actually works. Oh, he inserted the other command, which sed, which actually perfect. Yeah, it so you can do R, it will be in line, or you can R, the output.
So okay, so like that, and then if we do, and then say file, shoot.
Yeah, did you do file?
Well, it's oh yeah, that'll work. Yeah, but okay, so I think there's an option you pass, right? Maybe it's F. Are you saying it's F?
Yeah, try
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh.
sweet.
See, like, I don't know, that's pretty
Oh, I'm lost. Can you do that one more time?
Okay, so we have sed-f as our interpreter, right?
Mhm.
So that's gonna execute sed-f to whatever file, to this its own file. You know, actually, wait. Okay. Porter, you could probably explain this better than I could, because I'm working some on my head right now.
You basically saying sed dash F, the two bars replacement thing on itself file.
Yeah, so what it runs is sed dash F file, which ends up replacing foo bar, or like basically replacing foo with bar. I mean,
Oh,
you
that's kind of cool.
yeah, so there's some other thing that I saw that I thought was really cool. It's just like a really clever use of making a script.
So like basically the shell script modified itself.
Kind of. It didn't actually.
It didn't actually modify it because it's not inline.
It modified. I'm sorry.
You're
It
running-
modified
you're running.
it modified its source code, but you're right. It wouldn't have modified what was running in memory.
Exactly.
What if you do
Self-destructing shell script,
dash FI? What is
or
that?
inline.
Oh, okay.
So it actually will modify the file. You can specify, some versions of sed require like the one on Mac OS 10, at least a while ago, was you had to specify a file extension to be used as a backup file. Because it's really easy. It's really easy to mess up your files this way.
Yeah.
Especially when you use like -n for do not auto print.
Just
Like I screwed up half of my website like at 4 in the morning once because I accidentally had a -i at the beginning of a long command. I didn't see it. And it killed the file.
Dash I.
So be careful when you run -i.
Do it. I want to see this.
Okay, so
I have
this,
the file for you.
yeah, so this should.
you can do one called group run.
Oh, whoops.
Still
The I has to be first.
be like,
Okay, take two.
What is the dot? There is no dot.
Dot should match anything.
wait, are these built?
I tore it down after.
Wait, do you know why this isn't
Okay,
working?
then
Yeah.
do,
So if they were built, it would
do,
like PWE through every single one. So you can just keep looking at it, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so to answer your actual question, just if they tested them, they go ahead and get at them and then or get
Can't you just do all
still
stars?
add, you want to add everything under there.
Well, star specifies how many characters actually inside. It doesn't work the same way as like other like shell globbing.
So does set by default match one thing per line, or
It goes line by line. If that's what you
okay,
mean.
So yeah, but would that /./d just replace the
put a tweet for you tomorrow.
I was expecting this to say it's gonna match every line and delete them all.
Ah, shit, I gotta get going.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, right. 'Cause it
Shoot.
Hey, is there any? I'd like to continue this. If you guys are planning to stay later, because we got more on the agenda, or we can just move it to next week. I don't know if you guys are in a hurry, but if someone wanted to continue, if they could like use their laptop, put it up here, and do Zoom, then I can connect from home. But if you guys want to save the stuff, that's good too. Whatever you want to do. It just depends how long you're wanting to stay, really.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna head out too.
I probably should go take care of my poor deprived dog.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go. I'll go ahead and wrap that up, then I'll go ahead and save that.
Thanks, John. Sorry, that took the whole time.
Oh, it's all good. I wish I didn't have to leave.
I'm curious why that wasn't working.
But
I don't. So we did that same error with the dot before. We didn't even have a dot in the file, right?
Well, that was
Is a dot like mean something?
no. The dot means match any character.
Right. But it gave the error like couldn't or like unknown command dot even before you had a dot in the file at all.